Wanted to say a few words about the format, particularly invitations. Obviously, we had to throw this together pretty quickly at the end. We did start planning a couple months ago. Other things happened, things got busy. When we finally knew it was going to be able to happen, it was probably less than a week ago. So I want to thank all the candidates that came out on short notice. I was calling some of them on the phone today, trying to make sure they'd be out here. So don't take it as a sign of who you shouldn't vote for just because they're not here. A lot of them had other commitments already, and that's fine. We did get at least one candidate from one race on video. We have some representatives here. They all did the best they could do, so take that under consideration.
Okay, the candidates will have a 2-minute opening, and then on the questions they'll have a 90-second or a minute-and-a-half response. Melissa has the time cards, and for the candidates, at 1 minute she'll hold, after 1 minute's lapsed, she'll hold the card up. When there's 30 seconds to go, she'll hold the second card up, and you can see that as she's going through. We're going to start with in ballot order at the top of the ballot, and the first race that this county has to deal with, other than the statewide races, is going to be the Second Court of Appeals. There is an opening on that seat. We have 3 candidates. In the ballot order that we have is Dia Beck, Bill Myers, and Barkus Hunter. This is a judicial seat, and just to kind of give you you guys are going to be lawyers, so you understand all this. We have a bifurcated system. In Texas, we have trial courts, both at county and district level. Then they go to a court of appeals that handles both civil and criminal. And then they split back again at the Supreme Court level, Supreme Court handling civil. The Texas Criminal Court of Appeals is the Supreme Court for criminal matters. This court is the Second Court of Appeals. It's headquartered here in Tarrant County. It's about, they can tell me, it's 12 or 13 counties. 12, yeah. And it goes all the way up to Wichita Falls, and then west and a little bit north. So in ballot order, if why don't the 3 candidates come up? We have Dia Beck. Her husband's going to represent her tonight. She had another conflict.
Everyone here obviously understands that we as believers cannot be disengaged in our culture. We need to be involved. We need to make sure that godly principles are practiced in our government. We just want to thank you for the opportunity to come together, and pray that you'll guide our leaders, guide our votes, and help us to do your will. Amen. Wanted to say a few words about the format, particularly invitations. Obviously, we had to throw this together pretty quickly at the end. We did start planning a couple months ago. Other things happened, things got busy. When we finally knew it was going to be able to happen, it was probably less than a week ago. So I want to thank all the candidates that came out on short notice. I was calling some of them on the phone today, trying to make sure they'd be out here. So don't take it as a sign of who you shouldn't vote for just because they're not here. A lot of them had other commitments already, and that's fine. We did get at least one candidate from one race on video. We have some representatives here. They all did the best they could do, so take that under consideration.
Candidate for this position that's currently open on the Second Court of Appeals due to the retirement of Judge Dixon Holman. As was also mentioned, it's a 12-county area that well, y'all all know that. You're law students. What am I preaching to the choir here? Sorry about that. My wife is a judge for the Texas Department of Insurance. She hears and decides cases on a daily basis. She's the only candidate in the race that has judicial experience. Right now, she's rendered approximately 100 decisions on a daily basis. She reads and applies the law fairly and accurately. She strives to be equitable with both parties in each of the proceedings, and that's very important from a judge standpoint in that she doesn't render verdicts based on her ideas or ideology. She renders verdicts based on law. She does not legislate from the bench. She's the best candidate in the race, and that's evident by the support she's receiving from Fort Worth Star Telegram endorsement and the Texas Medical Association endorsement. We would appreciate, my family and I, any support that you could provide in Dia and this race, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Barkus Hunter. Bark.
That's a family name, Barkus, and I go by Bark, and with a name like that, you go through life explaining it to people, but I was named for my grandfather, who was a longtime physician here in Fort Worth. Appreciate Terry's remarks. He's always gambling when he comes to anybody, any politician who goes out and stumps for his wife. It's a dicey proposition, but let me just briefly tell you why I'm the most qualified candidate in this race, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about any of it. First of all, I'm the only board-certified candidate in the race. I'm board-certified in civil trial law, and I have been since 1994. As you all might be aware, that's a pretty rigorous process that involves peer review by lawyers against whom and with whom you have tried cases, and also judges before whom you have appeared, as well as a very rigorous test that's administered by the board, very similar to the bar exam. And then that's re-reviewed every 5 years, and I've been certified since 1994. I was also voted by the lawyers in the Tarrant County Bar as the most qualified candidate. 82% of those lawyers who answered the questionnaire said that I was either qualified or well qualified. They said in response to the same question about Mr. Meyer and Ms. Beck that roughly 30% of them said that those lawyers were not qualified. Finally, I've got 27 years experience. I tried my first jury case 27 years ago this month, and my practice has been a broad one. I've had experience in contracts, in real estate, in oil and gas, in construction, probate, even mental health, and a little bit of criminal law back in the day. And I think given all of those things, I've got the broadest qualifications and the highest qualifications, and that's why you ought to vote for me in this race. Thanks.
I want to make one point of clarification, just so everybody does understand. While we have law school students here, we also have the Ron Paul grassroots volunteers here. We're putting this on as a cooperative effort. Maybe you can tell in the crowd which one's which, I don't know.
I'm not assuming I can say it. Here's your sign.
We left the signs at home for the most part because we didn't want to scare anybody, but yeah, this is a joint effort. So you're talking to some of both of us. We like to think the Ron Paul volunteers maybe follow the law better than somebody else does, but I can't promise it. So, that having been said, first question. Republican candidates typically say that they oppose judicial activism. Please explain what judicial activism means to you and how you distinguish between it and judicial review.
I'll let you go first.
Judicial activism, simply put, is judges substituting their judgment about the wisdom of any particular law, substituting their judgment for that of the legislature. Justice Scalia was here several years ago and spoke at the Bass Hall, and he said, "Folks, do you really want to have 9 lawyers running your life?" And he said it in all seriousness, because that's what happens if a court overrides what's happened at the legislative level and substitutes its judgment for that. Legislatures write bad laws all the time, and it doesn't mean that that's fair game for a court to then say, nope, that's a bad law, I think I'd have done that differently, and finding a way essentially to nullify that law through an appellate opinion. What an appellate court is supposed to do is review what happened at the trial court below to ensure that all the proper procedures were followed and that the law was correctly applied, period. Now, if a law happens to be unconstitutional, which is rare, that's the only time that the court is allowed